Your point is an elephant.
So, something's gone wrong on the internet and we need to deal with it now. People are upset about it. There are any number of YouTube videos about it. There are a lot of articles being written. There are people just gnashing their teeth because 3 older movie directors with long, distinguished careers in the industry who have enriched our lives for the last half a century have said that they don't like superhero movies. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola and Ken Loach have all had their opinions about superhero movies, and they haven't been the same as a lot of other people's. So let's see what these guys actually said. On October 4th, 2019, Martin Scorsese was interviewed by The Guardian, and he had this to say. Honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being. During his David Lean lecture in London on the 12th of October 2019, Scorsese elaborated. Theatres become amusement parks. That is all fine and good, but don't invade everything else in that sense. That is fine and good for those who enjoy that type of film, and by the way, knowing what goes into them now, I admire what they do. It's not my kind of thing, it is simply not. It's creating another kind of audience that thinks cinema is that. Francis Ford Coppola had his say on the 21st of October, when he said, when Martin Scorsese says that the Marvel pictures are not cinema, he's right because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing the same movie over and over again. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is. Then on the 22nd of October 2019, British film director Ken Loach had his say. I find them boring. They're made as commodities, like hamburgers. It's about making a commodity which will make a profit for a big corporation. They're a cynical exercise. They're a market exercise, and it has nothing to do with the art of cinema. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about one thing that really does need to be addressed. Respect. I respect Scorsese and Coppola and Loach for their work. They are dyed-in-the-wool geniuses at what they do. Taxi Driver, The Godfather trilogy, Apocalypse Now, and Kiss are masterworks of cinema. Martin Scorsese in particular has given us more than that. His 2 documentaries about cinema, the first about American cinema, the second about post-war Italian cinema, are documentaries you really need to see. They are fantastic, they are erudite, they are compassionate, they are wonderful. And when you watch them, which you should, take a notepad because you're going to write down the name of movies to watch after you see those docos. They are the best of the best. The contributions of these 3 guys to our world culture is not to be underestimated. They are really that good. I like to see cinema as an enormous diverse city with a whole bunch of different aspects, a whole bunch of different districts, a long history and a richness that we can't ever know fully. These 3 guys helped build part of that city, and the parts that they built will last as long as the city itself does. We owe them respect, and we owe them the chance to have this say. And this is nothing new. Ever since George Lucas hit the stratosphere in 1977, Martin Scorsese has been bemoaning popular blockbuster cinema. He was a friend of both Lucas and Steven Spielberg, and they all hung out together in Malibu beach houses getting stoned and discussing film projects. Lucas had made a couple of interesting films, THX 1138 and American Graffiti, but when he made a big popular movie that borrowed heavily from the movie serials of the 1940s, Coppola and Scorsese were deeply disappointed because as they saw it, he had copped out. There's a thematic link here because several of those movie serials that inspired George Lucas featured some interesting characters. Captain America, Batman, and Superman. Coppola and Scorsese have been talking about the dumbing down of popular cinema for at least 42 years. So, do they have a point? Well, yeah, they do. As with any other corporation, the people at the coalface of production want to do good work in cinema. They probably know the filmographies of Loach, Scorsese and Coppola inside out. They go to the New Beverly in LA and watch retrospectives of Sam Fuller movies, and they like nothing better than binge watching French New Wave cinema. But above them looms Disney, or in DC's case, Warner Brothers. The futurist and science fiction writer Charles Stross has described corporations as big, slow, artificial intelligences. Like Steve McQueen's Blob, they want to do two things. They want to survive and they want to expand. Disney, through Marvel, has perfected the art of turning a blockbuster movie into an overwhelming cultural tsunami. If, say, the Chinese government doesn't like something in a Marvel movie, Disney will cut it out to ensure market share in the world's most important economy. If the US military is uncomfortable with something in a Marvel movie, Disney will remove it so they can get cooperation next time a hero wants to throw a tank at a jet fighter on an airbase. You're not going to see nuanced, complex, politically savvy storytelling from Marvel or DC in their main arenas. If you want to see stories that might be respected by Scorsese or Coppola or Loach, unlikely though it is, you'll need to go to the streaming service for that. Series like Watchmen, Doom Patrol and Titans all have complex characters, complex storylines, and they have something to say. That's where the really good stuff lives these days. So who knows, maybe something good will come out of this. Maybe someone will try to make a Marvel or a DC movie worthy of the respect of Scorsese, Coppola and Loach, though I don't think these guys will ever understand this new, brash and energetic genre. Criticism's important. It throws a shadow that gives a third dimension to the subject. It makes us think about it and our instinctive reactions. Respected criticism is the cure for totalitarianism, whether it's in politics or in culture. Our world needs heretics. Scorsese's modified what he said in a more recent interview with EW.com. The tentpole films are big comic book films. They're theme park movies, as well done as many of them are at all levels. It's a different cinema form or a new art form entirely. We're hoping there are theatres that show the films that are not that, and that if they're not going to show it, that filmmakers still have an opportunity with the streaming services. It changes the experience, but otherwise, in 2 or 3 years from now, it's not being done. A good filmmaker comes in from Italy or France, the film has to be a franchise movie or they won't do it anymore. So that turd storm continues. But I'm going to leave the last word with James Gunn, who's had his own problems with Marvel, even though he has been successful with the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Many of our grandfathers thought all gangster movies were the same, often calling them despicable. Some of our great-grandfathers thought the same of westerns and believed that films by John Ford, Sam Peckinpah and Sergio Leone were exactly the same. I remember a great-uncle to whom I was raving about Star Wars. He responded by saying, "I saw that when it was called 2001 and boy it was boring." Superheroes are simply today's gangsters and cowboys and outer space adventurers. Some superhero films are awful, some are beautiful, like westerns and gangster movies, and before that just movies. Not everyone will be able to appreciate them, even some geniuses. And that's okay. So there are a few thoughts and a few reality checks and a few quotes about this particular storm in a teacup. Like all the other storms we have on the internet, it'll pass. It'll calm down. It'll become forgotten in a month or so. And everybody will move on with their lives and move on with their careers and move on with watching the films they love and sharing, hopefully, the knowledge of those movies. In the same way that Martin Scorsese does with his documentaries. We should be big enough people to accept criticism of the things we love. If you don't accept criticism of something you deeply love and believe in, then you're a member of a cult. And I don't think that any of us want to be a member of the cult of Marvel or of Disney. We want to appreciate what they do. We want every movie to be better than the one before it. We want to enjoy and be entertained and delighted and enlightened by cinema. We don't have to tear other people apart to do that. That's it for this time around. Thanks for watching, and thanks for putting up with my little rant about this. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to. I'll be back next week with something else entirely. I'm sure there's something new to say about cinema in 7 days' time. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, keep watching the skies, and watch good cinema.